What is up, everybody? My name is Isaac Parks. Welcome to the most in-depth punting tutorial ever going to be released on YouTube. It is going to be multi-part, brought to you by myself, yours truly. Okay, so what we're going to be going over in today's episode. Welcome. This is ground zero. This is level 0. Okay, this is, you're just getting into punting. Let's just figure out what it is. Do we even want to continue pursuing this? Literally just as basic comes. So today what we're going to be talking about is what is punting. Okay, because I believe you cannot teach punting to somebody that doesn't really understand punting or what it is. And I've got the head cam on today so I can give you guys a look at everything that I'm doing as I start explaining some more in-depth stuff. Okay, first things first. Who am I? My name is Isaac Parks.
And that is the reason Isaac Parks is one of the most elite punters in the nation.
I was a FCS backup, Division II All-American, FBS full ride scholarship punter, and still an NFL free agent hopeful. But who knows what's going to come with that, so I'll just leave it at All-American punter. So, why am I making this video? Well, I've gotten a lot of requests. A lot of people want everything I know about punting. So the first thing I'm gonna tell you before we even get into this is don't let this multi-part series keep you from getting a punting coach. There's nothing I will ever preach more than you need a punting coach. I use a punting coach. All the great NFL punters have punting coaches. Please go get a punting coach. I'm not your replacement, but I am like a book that can help you expand your knowledge on punting. So use it like that. Build some knowledge, take any advice you want from this, maybe bring some of it to your punting coach, talk to them about it, but don't let this be the only thing that you ever do in order to increase your knowledge on punting. So you might be asking yourself, what is a punt? And that is a great question. So a punt, as we're gonna turn around, has to do with primarily one thing: dropping and kicking a football, right? In American football, the most popular punt right now is a 2 to 3 step spiral punt, which means it looks something like this, right? Which looks something like this. Here we go. So you'll catch, take 1 to 2 steps, drop, and then attempt to punt the ball down the field in a spiral. Now you might think, how could you ever hit a spiral punting a ball? And we're gonna get in there, but just as a little proof that you can, here you go. Look at that, a 2-step spiral punt. So while the primary way of punting has to do with the spiral punt, it is not the only way of punting. We also have punts such as this. It will be a end over end punt where I attempt to hit the ball up through this part to cause it to get a little bit of a backspin. It makes it a little bit harder to catch and can cause it to do some different things. You can make it bounce forward this way. You can also make it bounce backwards this way. Okay, so punting is a play that takes place primarily on 4th downs by a guy like yourself, like myself, who stands back there, and your primary goal is to get the ball down the field, to change the field position, to put your defense in an optimal position to prevent the other team from scoring. Now I want to get something very clear here out of the way first. The only thing that matters about punting when it comes to punting in a game, there's one number. It's the only thing that matters, okay? And that has to do with net punt. That word means wherever the ball ends up at the end of that 4th down play is your net punt. If you punt the ball 90 yards, whoa, insane, 90-yard punt to their other 10 and they run it back for a touchdown, you have a net punt of -10, that was a bad punt. You did not execute your play properly to put yourself in a position to succeed. That's just the facts. That's just the bare bones truth of the matter, right? Which is why some punts of 35 yards down on the 5-yard line are excellent punts, because it puts your team in a great position to stop their offense, to keep them from scoring. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, here is what we need to know about the punt. So the punt takes place, you're primarily, if you're a high school guy, you're gonna stand anywhere from like 10 to maybe 14 yards, depending on how good your long snapper is, right? You're gonna catch the ball, and your goal is to try to kick it down the field. Ideally, our goal is to try to keep it to a point where the returner is going to be in an unfavorable position, because stopping their offense can't happen if you can't stop their returner. So we want to try to put the returner in an unfavorable position with our gunners and our coverage unit. And the way that we can do this is there's a couple ways. A, we can try to pin them to the sideline, okay? We do so by aiming our body, our drop point, and our swing all towards the sideline and kicking fluidly that direction. So that way our gunners and the rest of our coverage unit can all close in, sort of cupping that returner towards the sideline. Of course, they have to do their job, and we'll get into that, into punting leadership later on in the video. That's a more advanced concept. That's actually like a level 4 or 5 punting concept, is how to be a better punting leader. But we'll kick it that way, so that way they'll cup in around this returner and he'll have limited space. If you put them outside the numbers, that gives them about 5 yards to move, which isn't a lot. Some of your shiftiest returners can still make a play, but even then it's going to be harder for them than if they have the open field. There's so much that could go wrong in the middle of the field. We just want to keep them out of the middle of the field. The second way we can do this is through hang time. A good hang time punt will give your gunners and other coverage units an ability to cup around him artificially, even if he doesn't have the sideline pressuring him from going that direction. So if you hit a 4.5 second hang time punt, that's like 42 yards, your coverage unit is going to surround him, encouraging him to wave a fair catch. And if not, he's gonna get lit up like a 4th of July special with extra fireworks, okay? So it's just not gonna be a favorable position for him. Now, have guys caught punts in unfavorable positions and made plays? Yes. So none of this is perfect. There's one way to ensure that that returner makes 0 return, guaranteed. And that's to put the ball out of bounds. Putting the ball out of bounds is the #1. You want to get noticed by college coaches, high school coaches? Have an ability to put the ball out of bounds somewhere between 35 to 45 yards. If you can do that 80% of the time, you're gonna get noticed. It's just hands down, you're gonna get noticed. College coaches salivate over that, okay? It guarantees no return. It makes their job super easy. If you can do it consistently and comfortably and with a good op time, you are going to get signed somewhere. People love that. It is the most consistent and easiest way to punt. And it does not require you to have a big leg to do so while getting great, not just great, immaculate results. So those are the 3 ways, okay? You can kick towards the sideline or just pin them against the sideline. You can pin them with hang time by having great hang time compared to great distance, right? So if you hit like a 55-40, okay, a very long but pretty low ball, and they catch that, there's a good chance they can make a return, even if they're kind of near the sideline, right? Just because of the way that your guys probably can't run 55 yards in 4 seconds of hang. It's just a fact, okay? It's an unfortunate fact, but it's a fact nonetheless. So that is the punt. So now we're gonna get some examples of just some quality punts here, some of which from me, some of which I found online. Just showing you what good punts can look like, okay? Because here's a couple different types of good punts. Here's a good sideline punt, okay? Where the punter is just going to hit the ball, putting the returner on near the numbers, giving him a very limited range to run back from, and you can just watch as the coverage team closes in on him, forces him out of bounds. He doesn't really have a lot of room to run.
And then, you know, those guys left, and then it was Cam and Sherm and, you know, guys like that. Now I feel like it's, oh, nice hit!
Next, we're gonna have a good hang time punt. Preferably, you'd still not wanna hit a high hanging punt in the middle, because other teams can block up your coverage unit. They can keep them off the ball still and give them a good opportunity to make a return. But a good hanging punt can still force a fair catch if it's high enough, pretty much no matter where. Next, we're gonna show you an example of a good short field punt where it is down inside the 10. This is the one where numbers get a little confusing because it can only net 35 yards, but guess what? It's still a very, very good ball. Okay, So this is not something that you're gonna take out, and I'm gonna teach you how to do all these kicks in coming up months, but all of these could be considered good punts. So these are things that I want you guys to know as you build into your punting career, because it's good to have these in mind when you're becoming more goal-oriented with your punting. Because yes, we'll get into the details of how to kick a spiral, how to properly hold a ball, how to properly drop it, should your leg swing look, what should your steps look like. We'll get into all of that, but this is the big picture. This is what punting is. This is how punting helps your team, and you can't really focus on the small details unless you know what big detailed picture that you are painting, right? Unless you know what you're working towards and why you're doing all these small detailed things and how they're gonna help you win football games, all the small details aren't gonna matter, because you're gonna ultimately paint the wrong picture. Which is why a lot of punters, when starting off their punting journey, ultimately are setting themselves up for failure, is because they don't know why they're punting. They're just punting to punt. And eventually they're getting chewed out by coaches and they think that they're doing a good job and they don't understand it. So I'm gonna help nip that in the butt and get you guys just on the right track from the get-go, okay? I'm glad that you have started your punting journey. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about the punt, what the punt is supposed to do, how the punt is helping your team, and hopefully this starts you off in the right direction with your punting journey, getting you a little bit excited to win some football games, because that's ultimately what it's about. So, hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you on the next episode. Yeah. 48 yards, but didn't look like much hang.